Have you ever noticed that even when you want to slow down, something in you feels like, ugh, I can't do it? Maybe you notice your body gets kind of tense or tight in some areas. Maybe you think about resting, pausing, doing a little less, and instead of relief, it just feels downright uncomfortable. Maybe even like a bad idea, like not safe. I want you to consider this isn't because you don't value rest. And it's also not because you don't know better. For many of us, staying in motion becomes a way of staying busy. And productivity isn't always about getting things done. Sometimes productivity becomes a way to feel steady, useful, secure. When we're moving, there's less space to notice what's happening inside. I personally know this pattern very well. Okay, be the first one to raise my hand. There were many years in my life where staying productive felt necessary. Not because I necessarily loved being busy, but because slowing down felt risky. The other thing I'll add for me is there was an element of being productive and feeling validated by others. It took me a long time to make that connection. What I didn't realize back then was that my movement, had become a way of feeling very regulated. Like in the busy, there was a lot of calm. And I'm someone that has this incredible capacity to do like a lot of things at once and manage multiple things. And in that, all that, it just felt like very normal. And pausing it didn't feel restful at all. For me, pausing, it just felt like this, you know? Even when I really legitimately had cause and reason to take a pause, it kind of felt like it was like if I slow down, something might come up for me, might come to the surface. So it's just easier to be busy. Stay productive, keep it moving. Now, what's different now isn't that I've mastered rest, okay? It's that I'm able to notice sooner when slowing down feels really hard. And I've learned to meet that moment with understanding instead of pushing through, which I think I have a PhD in pushing through. Now, I want to pin this thought in this conversation I've been having around compassion. Self-compassion doesn't start with being kind to yourself. It starts with being available to yourself. And being availability requires a pause. When we can't slow down, compassion doesn't get blocked. It doesn't get a chance. And there's often this voice. For some, it's a quiet voice. For others, it's very loud. And the voice can sound like, if I stop, things might fall apart. If I slow down, I'm going to lose momentum. If I rest, I'm going to lose who I am. And that voice isn't necessarily harsh. It's it's been holding things together. You know, I've talked about this in other videos. I say this all the time, we're always having a conversation with ourselves. There's always like internal things, whether we're conscious of it or not, but struggles like, I think I need to pause. I can't do that, right? And many times, like these like inner voices that we have, maybe like the one that says, if I slow down, I'm going to lose momentum. That is a very helpful thing. And I really want to just underline that, because I used to always try to just get rid of things. Like, I need to stop that inner critic. I'm going to squash it. I'm going to destroy that inner critic. I can't stand that part of myself. And I really, like 3 years ago, had this huge discovery. Well, one, it doesn't work. Like, I've been trying to do that for years. But the other is I could take a very different approach. And that is to consider that inner critic, that voice, is actually trying to help me. And I could maybe meet that part of myself understanding that, versus trying desperately to get rid of it or push through it. Many times we have these ways we do things, and they help us keep things together. So you may ask, well, then what do I do? Well, practicing, and I'm going to give you a practice here in a moment, meeting that intensity in a different way. So I want to, because I have a couple of notes I wrote down, I'm going to get to my next point, okay? And that is that, consider this: slowing down doesn't feel risky because it's wrong. It feels risky because when we slow down, it's asking us, or asking something inside of us, to trust without a guarantee. And trust takes time. So here's a very simple practice you can start right now and practice from this day on, okay? Instead of trying to rest longer, see if you can rest a little softer. Like, for instance, maybe you could just take a breath, like in through your nose and out through your mouth, like a breath. Maybe you could take one small pause. Maybe you could have one moment of less effort, and really let that be enough. I invite you to really try it out and see what difference you notice. I want to end with this, okay? You don't need to earn rest. You don't need to stop proving your worth. If slowing down feels hard, it's because something in you learned that movement was the best course of action. Movement was safer. And even understanding that the slowing down feels hard because something in you learned that staying busy and steady was the better thing. Even understanding that is being compassionate in a very real way toward yourself. So I'd love to hear what you're taking away in the comments, what questions you have, and it was really great to see you today. I'll see you next time. Bye.